Hello everyone, my name is Owain on the Thomas Bros channel, and this is my brother.
Hey.
So today we are going to be continuing with our top 5 favourite video game series. So the way this is going to work is that you will go first talking about your favourite video game. I will ask you questions, then I will talk about one of the games that was in my top 5, and then you will ask me questions about it, and that's kind of like how these videos work.
Yeah.
So, do you want to start?
Yeah, so my game I've picked today is World of Warcraft. This is my longest game I've ever played.
Okay then, so which World of Warcraft in specifically? Because
The online game World of Warcraft.
Okay, and do you mean like Wrath of the Lich King or?
That's expansions now you're talking about, but if you're going to be separated into expansions, I would say I stepped into Wrath of the Lich King when I first played it. So either Wrath or Legion were my favourite expansions.
Okay then. So I already know that this story is quite long, but just to entertain you.
You're going to ask me to try and break this down into what World of Warcraft's all about. That is insane. But, it's hence the title, it's called the World of Warcraft, it's constant war, so many creatures around you, And the thing is why I like World of Warcraft so much, I remember when I was far, far younger, when I played in Wrath of the Lich King, it was just come out, and I was playing that, and, there's so many narratives and so many characters. You mean the Lich King, obviously, was the main antagonist, and now you had Illidan Stormrage and now the Burning Crusade. And the reason why I got into World of Warcraft was because of Warcraft 3, which was a strategy game, and because I loved that so much with its narrative. World of Warcraft was like the sequel to that, I guess you could say, in terms of story.
So, Warcraft is a separate thing from World of Warcraft then?
Warcraft 3 and the strategy games before that are separate to World of Warcraft in terms of the way they play anyway, because they're strategy games that you can control armies and stuff.
But it takes place in the same universe?
Yes.
But it's just that the gameplay style is different? Yes. Okay then. So, World of Warcraft, how do you actually play it? Like, is it a strategy game like Warcraft?
No. So online World of Warcraft is like a third-person adventure game.
Okay.
When I mean adventure, I mean it's big. It's like really big.
It's big.
It's you've got like the Eastern Kingdoms, you've got Kalimdor, you've got Northrend, you've got Pandaria, you've got all like the Cataclysm zones, you've got Warlords of Draenor, you've got Outland. You've got the Broken Isles, you've got Kultiris, you've got Xandar. You've got I can't name them all. There's too many zones. There's way too many. It's big. It's probably the biggest, in terms of size of exploration you've got in any video game.
And who's your favourite character? Though I think I already know that.
Arthas. It was close between him and Illidan, but it's Arthas.
The Lich King?
Yes.
And why is that?
Because of the story, especially since Warcraft 3, and his rise to power on becoming the Lich King. First, he was a paladin. Then, in his descent for revenge against Mal'Ganis, he's come more and more to the dark side. Not referencing Star Wars there, but in a way, I guess you could say it's kind of an interpretation of Anakin Skywalker when he became, Darth Vader. But with Arthas, for him, it eventually became a Death Knight, and then later on became the Lich King. And the entire story is absolutely fantastic, and I love his character.
And who's the second person you said?
Illidan Stormrage, who is kind of like him in a lot of aspects. They both had a lot of sacrifice to get to where they are now. Illidan has lived a lot longer, and he's a demon hunter, not a Death Knight. Those two have actually had a few fights before now. They've had two. One where it ended off in a stalemate. They both didn't win the outcome. And then the second one, Arthas won, where Illidan tried to stop him ascending to the Frozen Throne to become the Lich King, and Arthas beat Illidan in the end.
Okay. So, does this actually, what time does this take place in? Because is it, on Earth, or is it on, another planet?
It's on another planet. It's in its own universe. There's no Earth, but Earth is close to Azeroth, which is the planet that they're on.
Okay, then. So it doesn't take place on Earth, but it has, its own Earth equivalent.
Yeah, which is called Azeroth.
Okay, then. So, what kind of other enemies do you fight in this game? So you've already said the Lich King.
Okay, so there's undead, there's demons, there's kobold, there's gnomes, there's murlocs, there's orcs, humans, Tauren. I mean, those are factions now. Elves, there's different types. You've got blood elves, night elves, now void elves. There's druids. There's warlock. Now I'm naming classes now. There's shamans. There's warlocks. There's mages. There's a lot of enemies you can fight in the game.
And what actually, because in the previous video you said that for the game in that one, Witcher 3 was a game where you got to pick out the outcome. Is like World of Warcraft a similar thing here?
No, World of Warcraft, you don't really have any decision making. Although there was that one in Battle for Azeroth, but that didn't really lead to the same outcome happened no matter what decision you picked, and that was only for Horde if you picked to either join Sylvanas or not to. But that didn't make a change in the outcome overall in the main story. At the end of the day, when you're going through the game, you're starting off at level 1. The idea is you want to hit max level, depending on what expansions are. I think currently now it must be at something like 80 or something like that, level 80. So you want to try and get from 1 to 80 by doing quests, helping people out, killing monsters, doing dungeons, which are like sort of like the end game in World of Warcraft, along with raids, which are like, so dungeons have like 5 people that you go in dungeons with. So you have a tank, a healer, and 3 DPS, which do the damage. And in raids, that can differ depending on what kind of raid team size you can have. You can either have starting 10 people or 25 people, something like that. Even 40 is the max.
Okay then, and what kind of like, because you said that there were classes. I know you've explained this to me before, that there's like, what, 4 different kind of like...
There's not 4, there's a lot more than that. But when you're starting off, like, let's say, you're starting the game off, you want to create a character. So, first of all, what faction do you want to be? Alliance or Horde? Let's say I want to be Alliance. I want to be... And then in the Alliance category, you've got all these races that support the Alliance faction. Human, Dwarf, Gnome, Night Elf, Pandaren, Worgen. There's loads of them, and so I don't know, I want to pick a Worgen who's like a werewolf sort of creature, and then you decide out of all the classes he wants to play as. So do you want to be a warrior? Do you want to be a druid? Do you want to be any of these, a death knight? Do you want to be a rogue? I don't know, let's go with rogues. I want to be a stealthy Worgen. And then you pick that character, you design him in terms of features, pick a name, and you're sent into the game with that character that you've made.
So that part sounds very, like, I guess you'd say creative.
Yeah,
so
you create the character, and then when you've picked the name, designed him, chose his class, faction, and all that, you go into the game, start at level 1, and off you go into the world.
So what, do you do things like build armies and stuff? Like,
no, you don't build armies. However, in some expansions, they have experimented with having followers, and you send them off into the world, and they do missions.
So you literally just go out there, you go online, and you just fight people.
Yeah, you go out and you do quests for NPCs like AI in the world and stuff, and you meet real life people along the way. You could just see them, fighting's over there, or trading over there, or having a duel in the middle of Goldshire.
Okay then, and what are your favourite locations in the game?
Oh, well, Northrend, I've always liked especially Storm Peaks, that's a cool, ambience to it. And so, yeah, Northrend, I would say. What else do we have? We've got... do you know what I actually like? I would say... probably things like on the Broken Isles, you've got the Tomb of Sargeras. I like the sort of theme with that, with the Fellstorm going up into the air, like very dramatic. But then again, Wrath of the Lich King and Legion were my 2 favorite expansions out of them all. You've got like locations like Deadwood Pass, where Karazhan, where the Guardian Medivh used to be at. That's kind of cool, creepy looking, horror looking, kind of like that. Saying that though, there is one location I really did like. Shadowlands wasn't really a good expansion, but however, there's one location I did like in that, and that was Revendreth, which is like this whole vampire look to it. The sky was like red and had like a very Castlevania type look to it. That was like just really, really cool. That's the faction I chose when I was in that expansion.
Okay then, and just before we move on to my game, I want to know, how did you actually find out about this game?
Well, technically that was from Warcraft 3 because I played Warcraft 3 before that, but I think it was a couple of years, well, no, not a couple of years, it was a few years late. I don't know the time difference because it was Wrath that I went into this game. I always knew about World of Warcraft, but I think it was more so my age I had to be to start playing it. So when I was at the right age, then I actually got the game, started playing it, and then I was just sort of captivated by the
So then I
World of
guess more
Warcraft.
specifically, how did you come up over against the whole Warcraft franchise then? Because wasn't it Warcraft 3 that was the first one you
I was
played?
younger than you when I was playing that, so that's going to be hard to tell. It might have just been something that Mum may have picked out, or I may have just seen it in the shop and just thought that was. I was way too young to know how it just landed on my lap one day, and then it was.
Yeah. Okay then. I can't think of any other questions other than like, what would you rate the game?
10. I mean, it's hard. Despite it all, it's had its ups, it's had its downs. But what World of Warcraft has always done, it's always been it's always has, and probably always will be, the longest game I've had from start to finish since Warcraft 3 to when I probably stopped playing maybe a year ago. It's it's been the longest game that I've played, and to play a game that long, to be captivated by the story, it has to be in my top 5 for a reason. So, I love the story, so it would be a 10.
Okay then. Yeah, I can't really think of much else to.
Okay, so what would your number 3 game be?
Okay, so the game I've picked is Marvel Spider-Man 2.
Okay.
So, do you want to start off with
Yes.
the questions?
So, Marvel Spider-Man 2, so this is a sequel to the first one.
Yes.
Okay. What are the characters that you're going to meet along the way? Who like the antagonists,
Yeah, okay.
for instance?
So obviously we both played this game as well.
But for everyone's sake here, who are they?
So the two characters you obviously played in the game are Spider-Man and Miles Morales, or Spider-Man and Spider-Man. You can also, in the third act of the game, play for one level as Venom, who is the main antagonist of the game, though not the one that was deserving of the game in my opinion. And the whole story is about, obviously at first it starts off that Kraven the Hunter comes to New York to hunt down all the different Spider-Man villains from the first Marvel Spider-Man game, but then Peter gets the symbiote, because that's a whole other thing as well. You had in the first game this mystery of where Harry Osborn had been, and you find out at the end that he'd actually been kept in stasis and he'd had the symbiote on.
Yeah.
And in the second game, he comes out of his recovery and he has the symbiote, and he's now Agent Venom.
Yeah.
And that's a whole other plot line as well, to see that relationship, because he finds out that Peter is Spider-Man as well. And then you have that whole thing play out. And then when Kraven actually kills Peter and Peter gets the symbiote, Kraven then tries to hunt him down. And then Harry gets angry at Peter and he becomes Venom. And it's a whole big thing.
Interesting. Okay. And what type of game is this?
So it's a fighting game.
Yeah.
There isn't much. There's a few puzzles here and there, but there's not many puzzles, and so it's mainly just fighting different kinds of enemies and doing side missions for NPCs and stuff.
Oh, interesting. Okay. And so we talked about what characters are in the game, and also what type of game it is. Are there any side activities that you can do, little bonus areas or something that you can do?
So there are quite a few side missions, but the most notable ones would be when you're trying to get Kraven's drones, and that ends up leading to a plotline with Chameleon, Kraven's brother. And then you also have probably the biggest and best side mission with the Flame, a cult led by who would be revealed to be Cletus Cassidy at the end, who gets his own symbiote and who will presumably become Carnage.
Interesting. Okay, so they've easily left it open for a third game now then, yeah?
Yes.
Okay. And would you have had
actually with the other ending where Harry's put in a coma at the end, and then Norman Osborn, they tease him becoming the Green Goblin.
Yes.
So that's actually an even bigger thing.
Because would you say that Green Goblin is like the last villain they got introduced into Spider-Man
Well,
universe?
yeah, I think that's a given, because Green Goblin is like the Joker to Spider-Man's Batman.
Yeah.
They're like opposites, arch enemies, and so, you know, of course they'd have to leave him as the final villain, since he's like the biggest.
Yeah. Okay then. Would you have had to play the first Spider-Man in order to play the second? I know kind of a silly question, but who knows? It may could just delve into the game already.
Yes, I think you'd have to actually play that one and the Miles Morales game, because they reference both games.
Of them.
But definitely the first game, considering Harry's whole condition.
Yes. Okay then. And so the second thing, the next thing would be
And Martin Lee, actually.
You also play as Miles in the game as well.
Yes.
You're going between two different Spider-Man here.
Yes, so...
And they have different abilities, like they have separate ones between them each.
So, Spider-Man Peter has the iron spider legs. Yeah. Aside from that, the whole way he works is similar to the first game, until obviously you get the symbiote, then it's way different. You're a lot stronger.
Yeah.
You, have all these different new abilities that you have with the symbiote, and it doesn't change when you get anti-venom. When you get anti-venom, it stays the same. And as for Miles, he has electric powers like how he has in his own game, and he can go invisible, but now he has even more electric powers. He has the blue one, which I'm personally convinced was just to tie in with the movies, but there we are. But that does do well for his progression with the electricity showing his different stages of, I guess you could say, contentment with what Martin Lee did to his dad in the first game.
Okay. So we talked about abilities as well. You have the symbiote's abilities that you get from Venom, and then later on you get to keep these abilities with anti-venom, yeah?
Yes.
Is there any changes into what kind of newer abilities from since Venom's ones that you get? Because it's anti-venom.
I think the only difference is that with anti-venom, you're far stronger when it comes to fighting symbiote enemies.
Okay.
When Venom takes over the city and stuff. Aside from that, anti-venom is just the Venom suit Peter wore before, but now it's white.
Okay. And is the game bigger since the first one? In terms of size?
Yes. So, in the first game, all you had was things like Brooklyn and Queens and stuff like that. But now you've been opened up to an entire, I think the entire right side of New York.
Okay.
With things like Lower Queens or something like that.
Yeah, I know.
I can't exactly remember what each thing's called.
I know what you mean. No,
Coney Island is also open
Coney
up to
Island,
that bit, actually. That's the one bit I remember.
We've got other, because you talk about side missions as well. You talked about Cleus Cassidy being in there and stuff that. And also you had people like Mysterio as well making an appearance.
Yeah, so Mysterio makes an appearance, and obviously at first because he has his own side missions where you think he's gone evil, but it turns out he's just getting framed by the people that were working with him. You've got Sandman, who's the boss for at the beginning.
What did you think of the designs on these characters as well?
The designs were very, very good.
Who was your favourite then in terms of, let's say, the antagonist? Who's your favourite?
Craven.
Okay.
Craven, I said before that Venom was the main villain, but not the villain this game deserved. And that's because Craven outshines Venom in every way.
Yeah.
Because of Craven's whole arc of because he's dying because he's had cancer, and so he wants to try and have a warrior's death and die by his worthy opponent, then die naturally and in a sick bed and stuff like that.
And would you say Craven won in the end?
Yes, because he does end up dying. He gets his head bitten off by Venom at the end.
Yeah, that was a brutal way to go.
But it was a very, very good way, and Craven, again, you could say Craven won in the end.
Yeah.
And that's why I feel honestly, Venom could have just not been in the game at all and just have Craven be the main villain.
And you would have been happy with it?
Yeah, I would have still been happy with it. Don't get me wrong, I love Venom, but Craven was phenomenal. was far, far better. Especially since I thought Venom would be more of like a personal villain, but instead he just kind of wanted to take over the world.
Okay. You've got a lot of like cosmetics in the game as well, haven't you? Yeah. So like all these different skins
Yes,
that
so
you can
you've
wear.
got skins based on the movies, like the Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield. They put in their own skins as well, and then you've also
Like a
got
Spider-Verse skin for Miles Morales.
yeah. I feel like those are probably the best skins.
Because does it like change up the animation as well as you're moving on?
Yes, the Spider-Verse ones do change the animation. It's more like jagged and how it actually is in the movies.
Yeah.
So that's actually really
That's
good.
really cool.
The attention to detail with that.
And when did the game come out?
Last year.
2023.
Yes.
Okay.
So
then. Interesting. And what would you rate this game, like in 1 to 10?
10. I'd say, well, actually, maybe a 9. The game peaks. The game kind of dips down in quality after Kraven's killed. Funny enough, when Kraven is killed, it dips down in quality a bit because again, I always thought Venom to be more of a personal character. You know, doing things like threatening MJ and Miles and the people Peter cares about to get to Peter and to kill Peter specifically. But in this game, basically what they do is they one-side that whole desire of killing Peter and ruining his life in favour of just making Venom another one of these villains who just want to take over the planet. Which I don't think is as interesting and I think goes against a big part of what Venom is when he is a villain. Which is why I prefer Kraven, because his whole goal was more grounded and more catered towards a personal thing for Peter. It hit a lot more home than it did with Venom.
Interesting.
So
Okay,
it was very, very good. And even then when it dips down in quality with Venom, it's still very good. It's just not as good as when Kraven was there.
Yeah.
So
Okay, then.
I had a lot of fun playing with it, with the game. The boss fights were also amazing. Venom's design with Tony Todd, rest in peace, was his voice and design was amazing. The fight with Peter, that was also really good. So overall, I really enjoyed the game.
Okay, all right, then. Interesting. Is there anything else you want to add?
No, I don't think so. You?
No, I can't think of any questions. But once again, if you think anyone here in the comments, please leave it down.
Yeah,
if you think
please
we've
let us
missed
know.
any questions you think we should have asked, then feel free to ask us as well. We'll try and get back to you as soon as we can. And until then, that is us on this channel. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. And that is it from me, Dewey, and my brother.
Oh,
We'll catch you all in the next video. Bye-bye.
Ta-da!